In the flickering candlelight of a memorial service, as families gather to honor their beloved departed, most believe they are saying their final goodbye. But what if that wasn't true? What if, instead of crossing immediately into an unreachable realm, our loved ones remain intimately connected to us for exactly 1 full year after their passing? This isn't the wishful thinking of the grief-stricken. This is documented spiritual reality, revealed through the most extraordinary psychic readings in American history. Tonight, we journey into Edgar Cayce's most profound discovery, a sacred bridge between worlds that exists for precisely 12 months, where the deceased actively participate in guiding, protecting, and healing those they've left behind. The implications will change everything you thought you knew about death, grief, and the invisible bonds of love that transcend physical existence. For in understanding this 1-year mystery, we discover that saying goodbye is never truly final. It's simply the beginning of a deeper communion. Edgar Cayce entered his trance state over 14,000 times, but his most emotionally charged sessions were those dealing with death and the soul's journey beyond the veil. Lying on his simple couch in Virginia Beach, this unassuming man would access information that brought comfort to thousands of grieving families and revealed consistent patterns that modern spirituality has largely forgotten. Unlike other psychics of his era, Cayce's readings about the afterlife weren't vague platitudes or generic reassurances. They were specific, detailed, and remarkably consistent across decades of documentation. When desperate parents asked about their children, when spouses sought connection with their departed partners, when families needed to know if their loved ones were at peace, Cayce's responses painted a clear picture of the soul's transition process. In one documented case preserved in the ARE archives, a mother approached Cayce 6 months after losing her teenage son in an accident. Through Cayce's psychic sight, he described not only the boy's continued presence around the family home, but specific actions the son was taking to comfort his grieving siblings, actions the family later confirmed they had witnessed but couldn't explain. These weren't isolated incidents. Reading after reading revealed the same truth. Death is not an instantaneous crossing into another realm, but the beginning of a carefully orchestrated year-long transition, where souls remain intimately involved in earthly affairs while gradually preparing for their journey to higher dimensions. Why exactly 1 year? Cayce's readings revealed that this time frame isn't arbitrary. It's tied to Earth's natural cycles, the soul's need to process earthly attachments, and the completion of what he called the pattern of release. The soul, having spent an entire lifetime forming deep bonds with places, people, and experiences, cannot simply sever these connections instantly upon physical death. Like a tree that must slowly shed its leaves in autumn before entering winter dormancy, the departed soul requires time to gently release its earthly roots while maintaining loving connection with those who remain. This 12-month period corresponds to Earth's complete orbit around the sun, allowing the soul to experience 1 full cycle of earthly seasons, holidays, anniversaries, and family milestones from its expanded perspective. Ancient wisdom traditions understood this sacred timing. It's why many cultures observe year-long mourning periods, why Jewish tradition includes the practice of yahrzeit, and why indigenous peoples speak of the year of the walking spirit. During this sacred year, the soul inhabits what Cayce called the borderland, neither fully earthbound nor completely ascended, but existing in a state of conscious transition. This liminal space allows for profound healing work to occur between the dimensions, as unfinished emotional business is lovingly resolved and final gifts of wisdom are exchanged. But what happens in those crucial first moments after the soul departs the physical form? This is where Cayce's revelations become most stunning. The moment of death, according to Cayce's readings, is often surprisingly gentle for the departing soul, but the immediate aftermath can be profoundly disorienting. In those first critical hours, many souls don't immediately realize they have crossed over. They find themselves observing their own bodies, confused by why no one seems to hear them when they try to speak. In a particularly moving reading from 1928, Cayce described a recently departed grandmother who attended her own funeral, desperately trying to comfort her crying grandchildren. She could see them clearly, felt their grief as acutely as if it were her own, and attempted repeatedly to touch their faces and whisper reassurances. Only gradually did she understand why her loving gestures weren't being received. This initial period, lasting approximately 72 hours, represents the soul's closest connection to the physical plane. The silver cord, that energetic tether connecting soul to body, has been severed, but the soul's consciousness remains powerfully focused on earthly matters. They hover near familiar places, attend their own services, and work frantically to communicate their continued presence to grieving loved ones. During these first 3 days, sensitive individuals may experience the strongest signs of their loved one's presence: sudden temperature changes, electrical disturbances, vivid dreams, or that unmistakable feeling of being watched by loving eyes. The departed soul, still operating with much of their earthly personality intact, uses every available means to signal their survival of physical death. Yet as profound as this initial connection is, it represents only the beginning of their year-long journey of conscious transition. As the first month unfolds, a gradual awakening occurs within the departed soul's consciousness. Like someone slowly emerging from a vivid dream, they begin to recognize and accept their new state of existence, while maintaining powerful emotional connections to their earthly life. This recognition phase, extending through the first 3 months, is often the most emotionally intense period for both the living and the dead. The soul, now aware of their transition, experiences a profound mixture of wonder at their expanded awareness and deep concern for the loved ones they've left behind. Cayce described a case where a departed father became acutely aware of his widow's financial struggles. Unable to directly intervene, he began working through synchronicities and inspired thoughts to guide her toward solutions. She would suddenly remember insurance policies she'd forgotten, encounter helpful people at precisely the right moments, or receive unexpected opportunities that seemed to arrive just when hope was fading. During these early months, departed souls also grapple with their own emotional processing, reviewing their earthly life not with judgment, but with the expanded perspective that comes with release from physical limitations. They begin to understand the deeper purposes behind their life experiences, the souls they were meant to touch, and the lessons they were meant to learn. This is the period when families often report the most vivid dream visitations. The departed soul, still closely attuned to their loved ones' emotional states, works actively to provide comfort, share important messages, and demonstrate their continued love and presence. These aren't random subconscious experiences. They're intentional communications from souls who understand that dreams represent one of the clearest channels between the dimensions. Love finds a way to communicate across any barrier, including death itself. Through thousands of readings, Cayce documented the specific methods departed souls use to maintain connection with their earthly families. During the sacred year of transition, electrical disturbances rank among the most common signs: lights flickering in meaningful patterns, phones ringing with no caller, televisions changing channels to programs that held special significance. The soul, no longer constrained by physical matter, can easily influence electromagnetic fields to capture attention and convey presence. Scent impressions offer another powerful channel of communication. A deceased mother's perfume suddenly filling a room where her daughter sits crying. A departed grandfather's pipe smoke wafting through the house on the anniversary of his passing. These aren't olfactory hallucinations. They're carefully orchestrated sensory messages designed to provide unmistakable comfort. But perhaps the most sophisticated form of communication involves what Cayce called meaningful coincidences. Events so perfectly timed and relevant that they could only result from loving intervention. A struggling widow finds exactly the right amount of money in an old coat pocket. A grieving child discovers their parents' favorite song playing at the precise moment they most need reassurance. A family facing difficult decisions receives guidance through conversations with strangers who seem to appear from nowhere with exactly the right wisdom. Dreams remain the clearest channel of all. During sleep, when the conscious mind's barriers are lowered, departed souls can communicate with remarkable clarity. They share important information about family matters, provide guidance for difficult decisions, and offer profound reassurances about their continued well-being and love. These signs aren't random occurrences, they're elements of an intentional language of love, carefully crafted by souls who understand exactly what their earthly families need to hear. If you're finding comfort in these revelations, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. Your engagement helps us share these healing truths with others who need them most. As the departed soul adjusts to their expanded awareness and accepts their new reality, their role begins to shift from desperate communication to active guidance. During months 4 through 8, they become invisible teachers and protectors for their earthly loved ones, using their enhanced perspective to provide wisdom and warning. A particularly striking case from the ARE archives involves a young mother who died in childbirth, leaving behind a devastated husband and newborn daughter. Through Cayce's readings, it was revealed that the mother was actively participating in raising her child from the spirit realm, inspiring the father's parenting decisions, guiding him toward the right babysitters and schools, and even influencing the child's dreams to provide the maternal comfort she desperately needed. This teaching phase represents one of the most beautiful aspects of the year-long transition. The departed soul, no longer limited by physical concerns like fatigue, illness, or financial stress, can focus entirely on serving their loved one's highest good. They see the larger patterns of life unfolding, understand the spiritual lessons their family members are navigating, and work tirelessly behind the scenes to provide support and guidance. They influence important decisions by inspiring sudden insights or gut feelings. They orchestrate meetings between their loved ones and people who can provide needed help. They arrange synchronicities that open doors at precisely the right moments. This isn't supernatural interference, it's conscious spiritual service performed by souls who understand that love doesn't end with physical death. During this phase, families often report a sense of being watched over and protected. Dangerous situations are mysteriously avoided. Important opportunities appear unexpectedly. Healing insights arise during meditation or prayer. The departed soul is working actively as a guardian and guide, using every available means to support their loved one's growth and well-being. Perhaps most remarkably, Cayce's readings revealed how departed souls use the transition year to complete what he called the unfinished business protocol, the resolution of karmic obligations and the healing of wounded relationships that couldn't be completed during their earthly lifetime. This isn't ghostly interference or supernatural manipulation. It's conscious spiritual service performed by souls who understand that unresolved conflicts and unexpressed love create energetic bonds that can limit both the living and the dead. Working through inspired thoughts, dreams, and synchronistic events, they guide family members toward forgiveness, understanding, and closure. In one documented case, a man who had been estranged from his brother for over a decade began having powerful dreams after his brother's unexpected death. In these dreams, his departed brother showed him incidents from their childhood that revealed the deep hurt and misunderstanding that had caused their separation. The living brother awakened with such clear insight into the situation that he was able to release years of resentment and find peace with their relationship. The departed soul doesn't only work to heal their own relationships, they often serve as catalysts for healing throughout their entire family system. They inspire apologies between family members, guide people toward important conversations, and create opportunities for understanding and reconciliation that might never have occurred otherwise. This unfinished business protocol extends beyond emotional healing to practical matters as well. Souls will guide their families toward discovering hidden assets, important documents, or forgotten safety deposit boxes. They ensure that their earthly affairs are properly concluded and that their loved ones receive everything they were meant to inherit, both materially and spiritually. As the sacred year draws toward its close, a subtle but profound shift begins to occur in the departed soul's focus and energy. The intense involvement in earthly matters gradually gives way to preparation for the journey to higher spiritual realms. This doesn't mean abandonment, it means evolution into a different form of connection. During months 9 through 12, communication with the departed often becomes more subtle but deeply meaningful. The desperate urgency of the early months transforms into gentle wisdom and peaceful reassurance. Dreams may become less frequent but more profound, carrying messages of ultimate comfort and spiritual truth rather than urgent practical guidance. Cayce described this as the period when souls begin to tune their consciousness to higher vibrational frequencies. They start to release their intense focus on earthly concerns and begin preparing for what he called the greater service, their role in the spiritual realms, where they will continue to love and assist their earthly families. But from a much expanded perspective, this preparation phase often brings profound gifts to the living. A dying mother might visit her adult children in dreams to share the deepest wisdom she gained during her lifetime. A departed spouse might guide their partner toward new love or life purpose through a series of meaningful encounters. A deceased grandparent might work through multiple family members to orchestrate a reunion or celebration that brings healing to the entire family system. The soul is saying goodbye, but not the goodbye of ending. Rather, it's the farewell of graduation, the loving release that allows both the living and the dead to move forward into their next phase of spiritual growth and service. Not all souls complete their transition smoothly within the sacred year. Cayce's readings contained crucial warnings about the emotional and spiritual patterns that can trap souls in the earthly realm, preventing their natural progression to higher dimensions. Excessive grief from loved ones can create what Cayce called binding cords that make it difficult for souls to release their earthly connections. When family members refuse to accept the death, plead constantly for the soul to return, or become so consumed with grief that they neglect their own lives, they can inadvertently imprison their loved one in the borderland. In one particularly poignant case documented in the archives, a young widow's desperate clinging to her deceased husband's memory was preventing his soul from completing its transition. Through Cayce's reading, the husband was able to communicate that her grief, while natural and understandable, was causing him spiritual suffering. He needed her permission to move forward, not because he loved her less, but because he loved her enough to continue his spiritual growth so he could serve her more effectively from higher realms. Sometimes the binding comes from the departed soul itself. Overwhelming guilt about leaving young children, unresolved anger about circumstances of death, or excessive attachment to earthly possessions can trap souls in lower, spiritual dimensions where they experience confusion and distress rather than peace and growth. Cayce emphasized that both the living and the dead must learn the sacred art of loving release. This doesn't mean forgetting or stopping love. It means loving so deeply that you want your beloved to experience their highest good, even if that means letting them go to realms you cannot yet access. Through thousands of readings conducted for bereaved families, certain messages emerged again and again from departed souls, universal truths that every grieving heart needs to hear and understand. They are not suffering. Whatever pain or illness marked their final earthly days has been completely healed. The consciousness that made them uniquely themselves survives intact, but free from all physical limitations and emotional wounds that may have troubled them during life. They understand your grief, and they don't want you to feel guilty about your sorrow. Grief is love with nowhere to go, and they recognize it as the natural response to physical separation from someone deeply cherished. They don't want you to get over your love for them. They want you to transform it into a force for healing and growth. They want you to continue living fully. The greatest honor you can give to their memory is to embrace life with renewed appreciation for its preciousness. They see the opportunities and joys that await you, and they work constantly to guide you toward experiences that will help you grow and flourish. Most importantly, they are proud of your strength. Even in your moments of deepest despair, they witness your courage in continuing to love, to hope, and to place one foot in front of the other. They know intimately the difficulty of your journey, and they celebrate every small victory, every moment of healing, every glimpse of joy that begins to return to your life. They have not left you. They have simply transformed the nature of their presence from physical to spiritual, from limited to expanded, from temporary to eternal. As the one-year anniversary of death approaches, a profound spiritual event begins to unfold. Cayce described this anniversary, crossing as one of the most sacred moments in the soul's eternal journey, when earthly connections are lovingly released and the consciousness fully ascends to its next level of spiritual development. This crossing doesn't happen suddenly or traumatically. It unfolds gradually over the days surrounding the anniversary, marked by significant dreams, spiritual experiences, or a sudden sense of peace and closure among the living. The soul is preparing to graduate from the borderland into what Cayce called the realm of active service, where they continue to love and guide their earthly families, but from a vastly expanded perspective. Many families report profound experiences during this anniversary period. A deceased grandmother might appear in dreams to multiple family members on the same night, sharing final blessings and expressions of love. A departed spouse might orchestrate a series of meaningful coincidences that bring their partner a deep sense of closure and permission to move forward. The experiences vary, but they consistently carry the same message: I am complete, I am at peace, and I love you eternally. The crossing itself is often experienced by surviving family members as a subtle but unmistakable shift in energy. The intense presence they've felt for the past year begins to transform into something more gentle and expansive. They may suddenly feel able to think about their loved one without overwhelming sadness, or find themselves naturally beginning to focus more on beautiful memories rather than the pain of loss. This is the departed soul's final, earthly gift, the blessing of gentle release that allows both the living and the dead to embrace their next phase of growth and service with love, rather than clinging attachment. If you are currently walking through the valley of fresh grief, please know that every word you've heard tonight applies directly to your situation. Your beloved is not gone. They are transformed, expanded, and more lovingly present in your life than you yet realize. The overwhelming pain you feel is not a sign of weakness. It's a testament to the depth of love you shared. Your tears are sacred water that honors the beautiful connection you were blessed to experience. Your heart feels broken because it has been stretched to hold more love than you thought possible. And that expansion, though painful, is actually preparing you to receive the deeper communion that awaits. Your loved one sees your struggle, understands your pain, and is working constantly to provide comfort and reassurance. They have not abandoned you. They are simply learning new ways to love and support you from their expanded perspective. The signs of their presence that you've been noticing aren't your imagination. They are real communications from a soul who refuses to let death end their devotion to your well-being. This sacred year of connection is not something to fear, but rather a precious gift to be treasured. You have been given 12 months to gradually adjust to this new form of relationship, to receive whatever healing and guidance your loved one wants to share, and to slowly transform your grief into something beautiful and life-affirming. Be gentle with yourself. Trust the process. Allow the love to continue flowing between you in whatever form it takes. Your beloved is counting on you to not just survive this transition, but to eventually thrive in ways that honor both their memory and your own precious life. Understanding the reality of the one-year transition opens possibilities for conscious, healthy connection with our departed loved ones. This isn't about clinging or refusing to let go. It's about creating sacred space for the natural communion that wants to occur during this precious window of time. Begin by establishing a memorial space in your home, not a shrine of sorrow, but a beautiful focal point for love and remembrance. Include photographs that capture your loved one's joy, objects that held special meaning, and perhaps a candle that you light during quiet moments of reflection. This becomes an anchor point for your connection, a place where you can sit quietly and feel their presence most clearly. Maintain regular communication through prayer, meditation, or simple conversation. Talk to them as naturally as you always did, sharing your daily experiences, asking for guidance, and expressing whatever emotions arise. They hear every word, feel every feeling, and respond in whatever ways are possible from their dimension. Pay attention to your dreams with new reverence. Keep a journal by your bedside and record whatever you remember upon waking, no matter how fragmentary or strange it might seem. Dreams during the transition year often carry important messages, healing insights, or simply the profound comfort of continued connection. Most importantly, remain open to the signs and synchronicities that occur throughout your daily life. That butterfly that lands on your shoulder during a moment of missing them. The song that plays at exactly the right moment. The stranger who offers exactly the words of comfort you needed to hear. These are not coincidences. They are love letters from beyond the veil. As our journey through Edgar Cayce's Revelations draws to a close, we arrive at the most profound truth of all. Death is not an ending, but a doorway to expanded consciousness and deeper love. The one-year transition period represents humanity's most sacred bridge between dimensions, a time when the veil becomes thin and love demonstrates its power to transcend every apparent limitation. This understanding transforms how we approach both dying and grieving. Death becomes not the enemy to be feared, but the next chapter in an eternal adventure of spiritual growth and service. Grief becomes not a pathology to be cured, but a sacred passage that deepens our capacity for love and opens our hearts to dimensions we never knew existed. When we truly comprehend that our loved ones remain actively present during the year following their death, working tirelessly to guide, heal, and bless our lives, we begin to see every moment of existence as part of a magnificent tapestry woven from threads of eternal love. Physical separation becomes temporary inconvenience rather than permanent devastation. The souls who have walked this path before us want us to know that death holds no victory over love. Every connection forged in genuine care and devotion continues beyond the grave, transformed but never diminished. The bonds we create with others are quite literally eternal, destined to reunite us again and again throughout our endless journey of spiritual evolution. Tonight, you've glimpsed the sacred mystery that Edgar Cayce spent his lifetime revealing to a grieving world. Death is not the opposite of life. It is life's graduation into limitless possibilities. Love is not bound by physical form. It is the very fabric from which reality itself is woven. Your loved ones are never truly gone. They are simply pioneering the path that you will someday follow, preparing the way for your own magnificent transformation from human to eternal, from limited to infinite, from separate to unified in the great ocean of divine love that connects all souls across every dimension of existence. This is the ultimate comfort, the final healing, the eternal truth that no grave can contain. Love never ends, and neither do you.